This is the Behind Closed Doors Podcast, a podcast that talks about real-life issues as seen through the lens of a millennial. We are not our circumstances. Our circumstances are a part of us. So join me as we unpack these conversations. Today's episode features the voice behind the Redefining Her podcast.
I am so excited to introduce today's guest, the one who calls herself Bemba with an accent. I'm going to try and do her intro. Hi, loves! I'm back with another banging episode. I am back with another banging episode.
Okay.
I am simply being the Bemba with an accent. What is the other thing? But yes, you get the gist. Help me welcome my darling Mutale. Drum roll.
I even gave myself like I'm a drum roll. I'm excited, and you got the intro right. So let me just greet everyone and say hi, loves. How's everybody doing? Oh, you wanted me to finish?
Yes. Let them know that I tried. I did the best that I could.
The only Bemba with an accent.
The only
one with an accent.
We are back with another banging episode. The only Bemba with an accent. Trust me, you will hear the accent. So, before we get into it, I want you to answer this however it comes to you. Who are you?
This is where we've reached. I feel like you shouldn't have gotten me drinking first. Okay. Who am I? Generally, or like human beingically?
Who do you think you are?
I think I am a human being. I think I'm like a music, like a song. I'm like a song, right? I'm full of beats. I have lyrics that make sense, and then sometimes the lyrics, you miss the message in the lyric. I feel like I'm a misinterpreted human being. Let's leave it at that. I'm a hidden song.
I have never heard that, and that is beautiful.
I'm like your hidden love song.
Well, damn. That's jam that is fire, and you didn't know it was fire till you sit down and listen to it by yourself. By
and then
accident.
You're like, damn, like this is actually such a banger.
Nice. So, simply being Miss Redefining Me. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. I'm an ambivert. I like to think I'm introverted and extroverted at the same time. So I'm an ambivert. Extroverted only when I feel comfortable around you, and introverted all the time, whether I know you, whether I don't know you. I like to think of myself as that. I'm a sister of 3. Since this is what we're doing, you know, someone will be like, I'm a mother of 3. I'm a sister of 3. I am a Zambian girl who lived in Botswana, who's now living back in Zambia. So I guess I'm like a Botswana girl living in Zambia. Yeah, I am a creative. I am a marketing girl by profession.
Don't be a banana.
Yeah, don't be a banana. I'm a girlfriend to many. I'm a girlfriend to many, but a soulmate to one.
Wherever the one is.
Yes, I'm a soulmate to one. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm probably like the loudest person you'll ever have on your WhatsApp contacts, but every other social media platform you'll never catch me sleeping. You'll never catch me sleeping. I'm like premium entertainment. I'm like DSTV premium on WhatsApp. And like everywhere else I'm just like compact.
Do you guys hear this girl? Oh, these things she's saying. So, we're gonna have like a very intense, brief but in-depth conversation. I know it probably would trigger, and I'm going to speak completely from ignorance, right? So today we're talking about broken homes, coming from a broken home, living in a broken home. You've already mentioned that you're from Botswana and now back in Zambia, and that is actually how we met in Botswana. I might give a backstory. I'll see how I feel. But Mutale is an amazing person, you guys. I just want to say this. And the first day I met her, I went to the school and I was just so lost. And she just came up and said, "Hey, what's your name?" I'm like, "Oh, come with me to my hostel." I don't even think they allowed people to come to your hostel. But she brought me and she was really friendly the whole time because your school had not friendly people.
No, people aren't nice people.
People are not nice people. So, yeah. Anyway, getting straight into it. How is that? Or let's get to being from a broken home.
Yeah. Ooh, unpacking. Okay, so growing up in a broken home is extremely dysfunctional. I speak based on my experiences and my siblings' experiences. These being how everyone wants an ideal family. You know, we grew up watching those Home Alone movies, those Hallmark movies where it's just like the mom, the dad, the kids, the what, and then you find out that your friends also around you have this perfect, inverted commas, family, and like the mom is present and the dad is present, and then you're growing up and then your whole primary school life and high school life, only your mom is present. She's like the active parent. And then your dad's not there. And so when you grow up, when you're young, you're just like, my dad's working, so he can't be there for me. And then as you grow up, you're now thinking in the sense of, my friends' dads are working too, and they're there for them. How come my dad is only working, but he's not filling in the there for me? And so as you grow up in that home, that's already broken because your parents are each other's necks all the time. You start to have that resentment for the parent who's absent. Because all you know is the parent who's present. So I know my mom, I know she likes this, I know she doesn't like this, I know she loves me to death. But the only thing I know about my dad is he's my dad. And he's a provider. And then when you're in a broken home and your parents argue, all you ever see is your mom hurt. Remember, because men are thoughts. Don't cry, don't show emotion, just be strong. Mm-hmm. So you're growing up and your mom is hurt all the time. And that resentment sort of builds. And so you're sort of like encouraging the broken home thing. And I won't lie, at a certain point in time in my life, some of my prayers when I was younger, growing up, would be, I pray my mommy leaves my daddy because my daddy's hurting my mom. I pray my mommy leaves my daddy because my daddy's hurting my mom. And the truth of the reality is they had separated a long time ago, but they were just staying together for the sake of raising two kids who they didn't want to sort of experience broken home. But they didn't realize that they were damaging the kids in the process, you see, because when you grow up, you realize it would have been easier for them to separate then than when they did separate, like, in the future.
And so the whole back and forth and, hurting each other, how long did that last before the actual separation?
It lasted a good 22 years, babe. So it's basically your whole life of back and forth, and
so that's all you've known.
That's all I've ever known. It's basically your whole life of back and forth, and then when they choose to separate, you're grown up and you're mature, and you're trying to be in a relationship where you're a lover, because in your head you're like, I'm gonna stick through this relationship no matter what it brings me, because I don't want to end up like my mom, my dad. And so you're allowing a lot of toxicity, allowing abuse, physical, mental, spiritual abuse, because whatever you're gonna do, you're gonna stick with this person because you want it to work out. But they don't realize what damage they've done 22 years later. When they're done 22 years later, they're all sighing like, and then you become the deputy parent. So now you have to parent your mom because she's hurting. You have to parent your dad because he's hurting. You have to parent your siblings because they're hurting too. And then there's no one to parent you. And so you're just existing with like this big lump all the time because you're parenting everyone else. And toxicity could have been avoided if they had initially just been like, hey, bro, this isn't working. But naturally in Zambia even, the man's buchendi doesn't break the house or something. And so as a woman, you stick through it no matter what.
The shipikisha club.
Yes. And so when you're older, you start to realize this nigga wasn't even unfaithful. It's not like he was unfaithful or anything. It just wasn't working. And then you hear two people's sides of the stories, and then now you're just like, shit. I could have been nicer to this person this whole 22 years. I didn't know this person was suffering. And that's only later. And then that raises sort of like a broken person. I'd like to think of myself as a pretty fucked up individual, to be quite honest. But I don't let that define me in my relationships, however. Sometimes the traits of my upbringing do show up in relationships. However, I try my best to make sure that they don't. But the brokenness of it is still felt, even after the separation. Because you're still mending other people, even the people that were involved. And no one is mending you. So you're mending your siblings, and you're mending your parents, and then you're falling apart every day, and no one's really mending you. Mm-hmm. And so the brokenness doesn't end. I don't think it ever ends. Someone could tell you, my parents separated when I was 3, and this person would be like, I hate my dad. You know, there's the daddy issues club, where everyone's just like, my dad left at 6 months. And in your head, you're just like, I would have preferred my dad leave me at 6 months than find out what I know now, where he was in this whole situation and my mom was in this whole situation, and the only reason why they made the sacrifice to stay together as much as they hated each other was because of the kids. And then you start to feel like, shit, it was because of me and my brother that they were still together. It doesn't end. It doesn't end. It doesn't come to an end.
You know, you mentioned the daddy issues. I was going to bring that up at some point. So now let's talk about that. Do you have any daddy issues? Or what type of relationship did you have then? And what type of relationship do you have now that you're older?
With my dad?
Yes.
Okay, so before, when I was younger, I like to think I was always a dad. My dad made time for me. Before we moved to Botswana, he made a lot of time for me. He taught me how to swim, he taught me how to do like all these bicycle activities. When we moved and the relationship got a bit intense, he was only ever there for me financially. So he was present in my life, but he was never there for me financially. So we'd never have chats, and we'd never do these things. Like, you'd be like at awards evening, or like sports day, athletics and inter-swimming and these softball tournaments, and your dad's not there because your mom is just there, and like your friends' dads are there, and you're just like, I don't like this guy. Why would this guy leave me? Like, these are like my biggest moments. And growing up, I was such a badass, like sports-wise, like that was my thing. And like I wanted him to be there for all my wins, but he couldn't even make it to one. And then I'm grown now, and they're going through this whole process, and that's when he decides to sit down and be like, I couldn't be there because of A, B, C, D, F, G. And then now I feel like I'm such an ass because I was selfish with myself because I wanted you to be there for me like all the time, and you were fighting your own battles that you weren't able to be there for me. And after we had sort of sat down and unpacked for him, remember, because now I'm the deputy parent, we sort of started to rebuild a relationship that was never there in the first place. And we're in such a healthy space right now. I could call my dad at 02 and be like, Dad, I have boy issues. And he will sit on the phone with me and will sit. And we'll undress this boy from head to toe, even from his haircut all the way to like the length of his toenails. And I don't think we would have had this relationship that we have now if he was as present in my life as I wanted him to be back then.
Do you think, though, that in as much as he was also fighting his own demons, he still should have been like the parent, like in as much as, what can I say?
As an active parent?
Yes.
I don't really hold him to that cross anymore because I think traditionally, once a man becomes a husband, he becomes a provider. And so he will do whatever he thinks is right mentally to be a provider. So if it's working 24/7 just to make sure that you have a roof over your head, you have food on your table, you have shoes on your feet, and you have all those things, I think that was his way of being present and being a loving father. So I don't take that away from him because that's all he knew. Certain things, even as he started to build our relationships, were so new to him because he would just be like, oh, this is what it is. Or he's still in a state where I could tell my dad I love him and he'll respond, thank you. Because he doesn't know how to say, I love you too.
Yeah.
So I don't really think I hold a cross towards him of saying, no, you should have love me more actively. I feel like for him, even as he was learning how to be a dad and how to be a husband, how to move on from whatever toxicity he was dealing with, he felt like love was a way, financial support was a way of him being present.
So, how did the whole brokenness in the home affect you growing up? And also, how is it affecting you now? Or what impact has it had on the person that you are today?
Growing up, I think I was a bully. I know you said I'm such a sweet, so I love it. But I was a bully. Like in primary school and high school, I really didn't want to take any nonsense from anybody. I would wake up at home and like my mom would have just argued with my dad, and I'll just be so pissed off, and I'll be like, what's the point? You know, I'm at school and I'm doing this. My grades were terrible. They had to send me to boarding school at a certain point in my life because I was just affected. Like, in that household, there was no day that passed without someone saying something to someone that ended up in a back and forth. And so imagine you're from school, you're doing homework, you hear, hey, you're trying to have friends over, and then this is happening. And I think that's where being an introvert sort of came in, because I didn't want my friends around my parents. I didn't want to go out and hang out with anybody. I just wanted to be by myself. And I wanted to be by myself in proximity of me being able to protect my little brother. And so anything that involved us going outside, I wanted to be there with him just so that he's not feeling like he's at home where there's noise. Yeah, where that is going on. Growing up, I don't want the toxicity, to be quite honest. If we are in a relationship or in a friendship and I start to feel triggered by certain things that you do and it reminds me of me and my upbringing at home, I will leave. No matter how painful it is, I will leave. I can love you from a distance, but I will not engage in any toxic behavior whatsoever. Relationships as well. I can't be in a relationship where you as a man are making me feel the way my parents made me feel when I was younger. I will leave you. However, I think it has also made me just a bit outspoken in relationships and situationships generally. If I don't like something, I'll tell you. Like, you know how they say, think before you speak? I used to be a reckless mouth because I learned that from my mom. My mom would just always be like, hey, and you also... I learned it from my mom. And so when I started to grow up and understand that it's okay for me to leave a situation without saying anything because I don't want to speak when I'm upset, it took a while because my dad is the one who taught me that. See, so now from my mom, I'm learning how to be like a loud mouth and like a rowdy person. Then my dad is telling me, you don't have to speak when you're upset. You can always be quiet, calm down, and then speak after that. And then you start to think and say, this is why this nigga was always quiet in arguments. Like, he probably had a lot to say, but he just let it slide because it's better to keep your harsh words to yourself, because words do break people. And guiltily enough, I've said a lot of hurtful things to people in my life that I wish I could rewind, but I said them out of ignorance and because I felt like I needed to be heard when I'm upset. And most of the time you don't need to be heard when you're upset. It's okay for you to keep quiet and go back and revisit the situation later.
That is powerful. That is so powerful. And what do you think is something that made you very misunderstood because of where you're coming from?
Okay. I think something that made me feel very misunderstood, in my friendships, it would have been probably been the whole, you guys, you have money at your house, but like, it's not my money. It's not even my mama money. And I'm not really looking for like financial support. I'm looking for a friendship. So you attract the wrong kind of crowd. You attract the friends who are sold by the illusion of like, you're living great, and then inside, like, you're dying inside. Like, you don't even want to go home. You hang out with your friends and be like, why don't you like going home? At your house, you guys have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And you can't start telling someone, this is the reason why I don't want to start going home. You know, it's the same thing with relationships. So you start dating someone or you're getting to know someone and immediately they assume you're like a daddy's girl, or like you can or you're in the relationship for like financial support or stability, and that's not the case. Like, I'm genuinely just looking for the love that I didn't receive when I was young. This is probably like a daddy issue red flag. However, I do feel like a dad's love is important. Because I got at a later stage, it's easier for me to be able to love a man and understand that he still has a life outside of me. But before I ever had this conversation with my dad, most of my previous relationships were very, why can't you just love me and stay with me and be there for me? Like, what is so wrong with me that you can't love me for the kind of person that I am? Like, I bring all these things to the table, but you don't want to love me. What's wrong with me? Is it because I don't have this? Then you end up now being this person where you're just like, oh babe, you don't have this, take my money, take my shiny, because you're trying to get the guy or the friend to love you, or like to stay because you want to get left. Because the whole time growing up you were left. There was something that was missing. I was left by my dad, not physically but like emotionally. There was that void of, you have left me, why are you leaving me? Like, why can't you stay and love me? I missed all of this lady's drama. And like, when you're arguing, then your mom says things like, that nigga doesn't even love you, your father doesn't, and then it's just like, oh, okay, he doesn't.
Because also the fact that he's not even present.
Yeah, because so you also start to see
fact.
that. So there's small misunderstanding things. Also, that's just a really big, I think that's probably one of my toxic traits that I have worked so hard on working on, is the fact that I can still have people around me who genuinely find comfort of being around me for me, outside of like what I have and what I bring to the table. So I don't really have to entice you or buy you in order for you to stay and love me. You can stay willingly without anything.
Does that still show up in like your relationships or friendships?
Sometimes. Because of the anxiety that this trauma has brought me, sometimes in a relationship when I feel like something isn't going right, I start to feel like it's me. And so I'm now trying to fix everything that's wrong with me. You may not tell me as my partner, but I'll think, I didn't smile at him the right way yesterday, I should do better. Or I didn't do this enough. And then I'm seeking approval from you. And this approval is hidden behind assurance and reassurance. And I just want you to tell me, it's okay, I'm not going to leave you. However, I'm not going to ask for it. I'm just going to start acting funny and lashing out. And I'm going to be like, I feel like you're not there for me because of ABCD. Or I feel like you're starting to like someone else. So I feel like you're feeling distant. But it's not even that. It's just because I need to seek that approval and that assurance to remind me that it's okay, you're here, I'm good enough for you, and there's no way that you're going.
How are you actively working on yourself after growing up like that? How are you showing up for yourself?
Damn, do I ever show up for myself? I'm so busy showing up for other people. I think late last year, I know it's pretty recent, but late last year I came to the realization that the only person who's probably gonna have me as much as I need is myself. And so it's the small things, like if I'm feeling really anxiously drained today, I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna recharge. If I wanna watch Netflix the whole day, I'm gonna watch Netflix the whole day. If a job is mentally triggering me, I'm out the door. Keep your money, that's okay. If a relationship is draining me, I will step back. I will have a conversation with you, and if that's not working, then I'll step back. I'm trying to sort of do things for myself a lot this year. So like, I'm going out more, I'm socializing more, doing things that make me happy. If I want to eat a big bite 2 a.m, I'll eat a big bite 2 a.m, and then I'll have pizza at night. Not because it's comforting food and like I'm stressed, but these are the small guilty pleasures that I would never ever do for myself because I was so busy doing for other people, trying to please other people. Like if I want to hang out with my sisters, I'm gonna spend the whole week with my sisters and you can't tell me anything about it. If I want to be with my cousins, then this is what's gonna happen. So it's like those small things, and I find comfort in like the smallest little things, like writing myself letters, or like I have conversations with myself, and I'm not ashamed to say it, where I'm just like, okay, so this week these are the things that triggered you, and how can you be more aware of your triggers so that you don't let them consume you or take over you in such a sense. For me, like when my dad was remarrying, it was an extremely sensitive issue for me because in my head I was just like, why do you want to put yourself through that again? Like, what's the point? Because before you got married, I was 180% team no marriage. There's no man that I'm getting married to so that we can fight and kill each other. No. And then he gets married, and then I see this beautiful marriage where he's more expressive and he's in love, and like he doesn't even have to tell you that he's in love for you to know.
You can just see it.
You see it, and it shows. And the wife is also like, she's there. But as much as I want to be happy for him, in the back of my mind, it's like, why couldn't my mama do this? Why couldn't you love him the way someone else? What was so wrong with you? And now I'm upset because I'm just like, where did you go wrong? Where did you miss the plot?
So now all that, does that have an effect on the relationship you have now with your mom? Because you mentioned that growing up, you only had a relationship with your mom and not your dad, and now it's like things have turned, right? You have a better relationship with your dad now. So how is it now with your mom?
I won't lie, we're not as close as we used to be. Reason being is because she does feel like I had no right ever forgiving my dad or like ever taking his side. And so certain conversations are very egg-shelly conversations. I love my mom to death. She's a shining star. However, there are certain things now that we can't discuss just because of her perception of things in life generally. She feels like the world did her bad, and for 22 years she was doing someone else's world bad. And so it's just a switch of events. Well, it's the same event, but like different, like the roles have now switched. So now she's the one who's sort of like deflecting. She's deflecting and she's unpacking. And it's overwhelming her because she does now realize and see her red flags and her wrongs. However, it's too late to change that now because she pushed Guy away so much. He literally went and just picked a flower and he's blooming. He planted in his garden and his garden is blooming.
How does all that make you feel? That is like a lot that you've said, and it's so intense. Just me hearing it is just like, wow. That's
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Damn.
The older I get, the more I realize that it's okay to talk about these things. You live through them. I know in the Simply Being podcast, all I ever did was rant.
Yes.
And when I started to realize that I was giving my situation so much power by letting them swallow me inside, it didn't help my anxiety at all. Because I could be driving in traffic and then like I'm having a panic attack. So now I'm trying to like stop the car. My heart is beating fast. I can't find my Xanax anywhere. I'm looking for Xanax. There's no Xanax in the car. Why? I left Xanax at home. I can't breathe. The car stopped. Everything's happening at once. And so the more I started to talk about it, I started to feel better about it. My broken home upbringing experience is not mine alone. It's mine with my siblings. And some of them are still learning how to speak about it. However, for as long as I can speak for them and I can let you know that we didn't die. However, me as the deputy parent took all the bullets for them. It's safe enough. It's comfortable enough for me knowing that I protected so many of my siblings from the heavy shots that were being shot at me. If I could, I would maintain healthy relationships with my parents. However, that's not how the world works. That's not how life works. I have this really, really great friend, and like all this person ever says to me is, I think you're doing great. And some days I don't see it. Some days I relapse. I'll just be like, hey, my parents, oh my God, they waited until like my year of graduation for them to separate. I didn't even enjoy my graduation. A, B, C, D, F, D. Then I just shut down. And then I start to realize that their marriage had nothing to do with me. How I experienced their marriage with them has everything to do with me. And because I experienced it negatively, it's up to me to take the negatives from that and sort of make like a positive. And my positives are, I'm not getting married to a nigga who's just gonna wanna marry me for just. I need to make sure that I have a friendship outside of the relationship in order for us to last. And I also need to be extremely vocal with what I will and will not tolerate in a relationship, so that when we do get into the marriage, you're not surprised when I start telling you, me, I can't be cooking lumanda for you at 06 in the morning, and then it becomes like an issue. So it's those small cons that keep me like motivated. Do I want to get married? I think every girl wants like a white picket fence and everything. However, for me right now, that's not where my mindset is at, only because I'm still dealing with things that I feel like I wouldn't want my partner to go through if I decided to get married.
How are you actively dealing with those things?
I'm not. I'm sleeping them off one day at a time. I'm not. I'm just sleeping them off. And I think that's another red flag, because when I feel like a relationship is probably getting serious, I start to shut down. And so for example, last year, we start courtship at church, right? Me and this other guy. We are courting. Courtship for what? For marriage. Preparation for marriage. And I'm shutting down. And then every single time we go for these meetings, it's like, she's no longer the way she was. She's like shutting down. So I can't tell you that I don't want to get married. No, I'm not gonna say it. Mm-hmm. I'll just start like deflecting the small things, and then every small thing that she's just gonna irritate me. You're breathing, you laughing, you hugging me. Why are you still in my house? Like, what are we even doing? And it's not because like you genuinely annoy me, but it's because I'm not ready. But I can't tell you that I'm not ready because I don't want to lose you. However, I don't love you enough to marry you.
And how did that affect the relationship?
It affected it terribly. It was bad. Men don't take rejection very well.
Yeah.
They think it's your fault, but I've become okay with being the villain in most stories, just because in life you learn that in order to protect yourself and your mental well-being,
you have to be the villain.
Yeah, you have to be the villain in your own story.
In hindsight or in retrospect, what would you have wanted to hear, or what type of support would you have wanted going through all this, especially as a deputy parent? I don't know how that is because I'm a last born. So I'm a last born, so I really can't speak on that. What type of support do you think you would have needed that would have helped your journey,
as a deputy parent?
Yes.
I think,
and also just as a person, as an individual.
I think emotional support. I think everyone was so focused on their emotions and how they're feeling, no one really gave a shit on how I felt. And it would reach instances where I feel like, and then they'll be like, you can't feel? You don't have the right to feel. I'm the one going through all this. I had to make like one of the hardest decisions in my life where I had to sign as a witness on my dad's divorce papers. And I think that's where me and my mom's relationship just went left. Because I knew that this marriage is not working. She knew, he knew, but she didn't want to take any action towards it. She was willing to just stick out the survival until death did her part. And for me, I would have rather had her be alone and suffering than be in a relationship and gaslighting and suffering and triggering and doing all these things, because it was now messing up my brother mentally. And this guy, he's now in boarding school, and sometimes he doesn't go to class and sometimes doesn't do all these things, but you don't see that in this moment as a parent. What I'm thinking about is, because you're your own individual, it's my marriage is falling apart. My marriage is what? My marriage is what? My marriage is what? My marriage is what? So
what do you think is the biggest effect it had on you as kids?
When I says kids, my brother, we don't know how to love people. Very violent, verbally violent.
Because you've never had to see.
We've never had to see it, and so you go for sleepovers at your friend's house, and then your friend's parents are even watching TV together. Where? In what world?
Why?
Yeah, why your daddy sitting next to your mama, bro? Can he move? Why is he not in the bedroom? It's those small things. My biggest fear for my brother, even now till this date, is he won't really know how to respect a relationship with a woman. He'll think he can be as verbally vocal as much as he can because that's all we grew up knowing. That's all we grew up knowing.
Do you try to stir him like, oh, it was like this for us, but it doesn't have to
we have conversations. However, because most men are mama's boys, they hold this sort of resentment to their dads for a long time. Like my brother sometimes still feels like, but dad did mom wrong, bro. Like you come home and you see like your dad, happy wife, happy life, and he'll be like, this should have been mom.
Yes.
And so you can't really have a conversation with him until he's mentally in that space where he wants to hear. Because there's a difference between listening and hearing, you see. So he's only listening so that you can be done with whatever you're saying, but he's not hearing to understand. And so for him, it'll always be a situation of, okay. But the time when he does make a decision to literally listen to understand both sides of the story, I think it will work out for him. I do try, but nobody wants to hear that their younger sibling is dating. I don't want to be told that kind of stuff. Why are you dating girls, bro? You're a baby. I birthed you when you're young. Just stay home. Women are not the prize. But it's such things.
What was your biggest takeaway from that type of life?
From that type of life? Don't jump into the idea of marriage. Don't jump to settle. My parents jumped to settle because they were young. My mom was pregnant. They were like, let's do this. You know? Know yourself before your partner can know you, because the same way that you know yourself and you carry yourself is the same way that your partner will know you and respect you through dating and through the whole marriage aspect of it. So for as long as, if you find me and I'm a soft life baddie, as in like milk in the morning, milk at night, milk in my bathing water, or like if you as a man know and you see me and you say, this one, she's very firm-willed in doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Even in the marriage, you as my partner will know, and you'll be able to support me for that. Not just getting married because we're 28 years old and the clock is ticking, or this is the only guy that I love even though he punches me 3 times, or I just want to take and jump. It's not things. You're sleeping at night and randomly you just hear people shouting. It's not mentally stimulating, and it's the fact for me that this whole divorce thing is happening, and I'm in therapy because I'm supposed to get better, but all I'm doing is being given like stronger prescriptions of like anxiety medication. And then when they tell you your daughter has been diagnosed with anxiety disorder, everyone just goes, that's not a real thing. That's not a real thing. You just want to man you. And then you're the one with the panic attacks and you can't sleep at night.
And they're not taking it as seriously as
no, they're
guys
not.
are struggling.
Yeah, and so you're taking these pills like behind closed doors, and everyone's just like, you see, they were lying when they said you had a mental illness, but now you're depending on pills for you to survive in the moment, for you to be awake in the moment. Because I go to sleep and I'm wondering, are my parents safe? Are they gonna fight today? Is my brother safe? Is he sleeping today? I can't do this. Oh, my head is spinning. Oh, my what is spinning. Oh, my what? It's not cute. People think the broken home is just, parents don't like each other. No. It becomes a lot of mental abuse, physical, spiritual, a lot. And they do it to each other. And it's the after effects of what they do to each other that affect the children. Don't exhaust me.
Me cry easily. One thing about me, I will cry.
I'm also the biggest crybaby, but I wasn't able to do it in front of anyone else. I had to do it by myself because everyone else is depending on you to be strong.
Do you not have like a support system where you can just break down?
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think the people that I do have that I can text and be like, hey, I'm going through it. Like when I drop you those to my text for, it's not cutting this week. I do like to think that they're safe enough for them to for them to understand that she's going through it, and all we can do is just be there, exist. Because sometimes I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I don't want to get advice. I just want to know that someone is actually there, and they're just like, I'm here.
Wow. It's been something. So, Mutale, who have you become?
Since the whole experience,
As a person,
I'm going to take you back to the song. Right. So I'd like to think, I love to use flower emojis and butterfly emojis as expression of the kind of person that I like to think that I am. I feel like just like a flower blooms, I have become this beautiful unwritten book. So there's no writing on my pages. I'm just the hardcover with like empty pages. And the reason why the book is unwritten is because each and every day is like a new experience to live. However, once the day is closed, that chapter is closed, and so it becomes a completely blank, empty chapter again. And then with the butterfly, I like to think that I'm constantly evolving. So who I was yesterday and the day before yesterday is not the same person that you'll find me today. I'm not the same person. So I like to think I have become this constantly evolving butterfly. And so my butterflies and my flowers are ever blooming and ever evolving. Still have a lot of work to do, but ever blooming and ever evolving.
Poetry. Wow.
I wish.
Woo!
I wish I was a poet.
I would have never said anything like that. You wouldn't even have paid me. Bro. I have loved this so much. It's been so intensely beautiful, and my eyes.
For the first time, I unpacked without crying. So I think you're a great audience.
So, in conclusion, darling, where can the people find you? How can the people support you? How can the people give you flowers?
I don't like to be found, eh? But my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook page handles are all the same. So that's Mutale Musonda with 2 A's at the end. And then slowly getting back into the podcasting gear. So you can find my podcast on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts with the Redefining Her. So it's Redefining Her by Mutale Musonda, not just Redefining Her. There's a butterfly there, so that explains my evolving.
Guys, go and listen to the flower that is constantly blooming, the butterfly that is constantly evolving, redefining her. She has amazing content. If you heard the Simply Being podcast, you will know for a fact.
I'm not as reckless as I was before.
She has redefined herself.
She's trying. Oh, mind, I could be reckless. I think there's a little bit of...
It's been amazing. Bye.
Thank you for joining me on Behind Closed Doors podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, please share it with a friend. Like, subscribe, and most importantly, please leave us a review on any platform that you may be listening to us from. For now, goodbye, darling. Till next time.